Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Monday, March 18th, 2024 meeting of the Lake Zurich Village Board. We have Acting Clerk Aaron Rauscher tonight with us, who will be handling Kathleen Johnson's role. So tonight, so Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Thomas Boynton,
Here.
Trustee Bobrowski,
Here.
Trustee Euchre, here. Trustee Riley,
Here.
Trustee Spacone,
Present.
Trustee Shugru, Trustee Sucre?
Shagru.
Shagru, I'm sorry.
Here. Sorry, I've been called worse.
And Trustee Wider.
Present.
There's no H in that name either, so it's him. Okay, we have a quorum and everybody's here, so would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda is public comment. This is an opportunity for residents to comment briefly on matters included on the agenda and otherwise of interest to the Board of Trustees. Public comment is limited to 30 minutes in total and up to 5 minutes per speaker. When you step to the podium, if you haven't already done so, please sign in and identify yourself with your name and address for the record. We will take public comments from the sign-in sheet. So first and only public commenter is Mr. Chris Stachowiak. Chris?
Chris Stachowiak, 2 Newgate Court, Lake Zurich. I've been a resident since 1986, and several times in the past, Lake Zurich has gone for public or water from another outside source, like Michigan water. And I really do support this effort you're doing and the 0.5% tax increase. I think that we need to make sure that the residents all know that this is for water, nothing else. I have been to the plant. I toured the plant. I've had my questions answered. I'm most impressed with the way they do their security, both the computer systems and the physical grounds. And again, can't do any better than what we've got with getting Lake Michigan water at this time under this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else out there who would like to speak at public comment, even though you might not have signed in? Yes, sir. Come on in. You snuck in. We didn't see you sneak in.
Sorry, I didn't come prepared to speak, but I guess I will. My name's Paul Smith, been a resident here at 1167 O'Malley, Lake Zurich for about the last 25 years. I guess I get to provide the counterpoint to the water proposal. I have looked at the information presented, seen the costs, and I'm not sure I see $150 million worth of value to the city, especially since I think our water is pretty good right now. What I think I haven't seen is what the overall cost is going to be per resident per year. I don't know if anybody has that number off the top of their head.
It may show up during the conversation, but this is, huh?
I said it's all online.
Yeah, it's all online.
Yeah, I looked online. I couldn't find it, but okay. So that's
Yeah.
my comment, and thank you for the public transparency.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nice. Yeah. Okay, then we'll close public comment and move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda items will be read by the acting village clerk and approved by a single roll call vote. Any item may be pulled from the consent agenda for discussion or a separate vote by any member of the board. So Aaron, please read the titles.
Approval of minutes from the Village Board meeting of March 4th, 2024. Approval of executive session minutes from the Village Board meeting of February 20th, 2024. Approval of semi-monthly warrant register dated March 18th, 2024, totaling $669,518.09. Ordinance approving the annual official zoning map of the Village of Lake Zurich. Agreement with Suburban Concrete for 2024 concrete flatwork program in the amount not to exceed $175,000. Ratification of change order number 1 from the WT Group to add the Paulus Park Chalet facility to ADA access audits in the amount not to exceed $1,500. Resolution requesting state permission for detours related to Memorial Day Parade on May 27th, 2024.
Okey-doke, so thank you. Are there any board questions, or any discussion? Does anyone want anything pulled for a separate vote? Okay, then I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as it is presented. And a second, please.
So moved, Spacone.
And would you please call the roll, Aaron?
Trustee Euchre?
Aye.
Trustee Riley?
Aye.
Trustee Spacone?
Aye.
Trustee Chagru?
Aye.
Trustee Weider?
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda passes. That's the end of that, and we move on to new business. First item in new business, Trustee Bobrowski.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is an ordinance of the Village of Lake Zurich approving the development agreement between the Village of Lake Zurich and Green Hill Company and Smalley Steel Ring Company. In summary, the Green Hill Company, doing business as Smalley Steel Ring at 555 Oakwood Road, is requesting tax increment financing assistance from the village to support a multi-phased, multi-year expansion effort that will not be completed until 2040. Smalley Steel Ring Company has been operating in Lake Zurich for over 20 years and is a global supplier of wave springs, retaining springs, and section rings that are used in precision manufacturing for multiple industry segments. The company currently employs about 600 full-time positions in the industrial park and plans to continue hiring 30 to 40 employees each year as the new square footage comes online. The company intends to expand its operations in Lake Zurich with an added 200,000 square feet of new building space, including 86,000 square feet of office, 100,000 square feet of warehouse, and 13,420 square feet of manufacturing production space. This development will cost at least $51 million over the next 10 years. The proposed TIF redevelopment agreement is intended to help offset the significant investment in Lake Zurich with a rebate of up to $15.3 million of TIF revenue over the next 22 years. This equates to approximately 30% of the overall cost of this massive industrial expansion. The performance-based rebates are tied to the completion of 5 project phases set forth in the agreement. 75% of the TIF increment generated annually by the project will be directed toward the rebates, up to the cap limits assigned to each completed project phase. The remaining 25% of the increment generated annually by the project and all TIF increment after the developer has reached the maximum reimbursement amount will go to the fund balance for the industrial TIF district. This balance will then be available for future funding of industrial park infrastructure such as stormwater management, water and sanitary sewer main replacements, and road resurfacing.
Okay, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you. So we've been working with Smalley Steel Ring since before COVID, or at least the early days of COVID. So it's been a long time coming to get here. It's been a long discussion because this company has had a very important decision to make. They were getting wooed heavily by the state of Wisconsin to move north, but we knew we needed to keep them here. So over the past 4 years, we've been working with them to put together a package of State of Illinois and Village of Lake Zurich economic incentives, and it has worked. As you said, Smalley's going to keep growing to the tune of about 30 or 40 employees a year moving forward once the new square footage comes online. So in order for that growth to happen here in Lake Zurich over the next 15 years, the TIF package we put together looks a little bit like this. I wanted to talk about it just a little bit more because of how transparent we are. As Smalley completes each phase of the redevelopment, they'll become eligible for a bit more of the TIF eligible costs as they move along. So they'll be eligible for about 10% of the total TIF eligible costs once they complete phase 1 of the project, which isn't until 4 years from now. Once they complete phase 2 of the project, they'll be eligible for 15% of it. That's the 100,000 square foot warehouse. That should be done by the end of 2029. And then they'll move on to phase 3, which is a 50,000 square foot office building. That should be done by the end of 2032. And then they'll be eligible for 20%. And then they move on to phase 4, the 36,000 square foot office building. That'll be done by the end of 2036, at which point they'll be eligible for 25% of total eligible project costs. And then finally, they move on to phase 5, which is a 13,000 square foot manufacturing facility. That should be done by the end of 2040, at which point they'll hit their maximum 30% eligible that they're eligible to receive, and that'll be the 15.3 million. So it's a win-win. It holds their feet to the fire, and it's a healthy rebate from the village, and it accomplishes everything we were trying to accomplish with keeping them here. So that's kind of how the incentive was designed. Now to talk more generally about the company itself and the plans for the future, we have three gentlemen here from Smalley. We have Joe Lucas. Joe, I think if you want to come up and take it away, it's all yours. Joe Lucas is a senior VP and the general counsel for Smalley, and he also has Lance and Dave. Lance is the VP of operations,
Yes, that's right.
and Dave, you're the director of operations. This is our Smalley team.
Thank you, Kyle. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, thank
Really
you.
Welcome.
appreciate it. And that was a good summary there, Kyle. Dave and I were talking before, I think, back to one of our earliest maybe meetings we had pre-COVID, and it seems like a very long time ago, given everything that happened then. But we're very happy to be here. Let's see if I do this properly. I was going to talk about really three categories of things. First of all, a little bit like reminder about who we are and what we do here in Lake Zurich. Number two, our growth. Sorry about that. Thanks, Dave. Our growth kind of previously and then into the future. And then a little bit about our site, where we are right now, where we reside, and some of the challenges we've been facing that Kyle kind of alluded to there. So first about Smalley. So as you kind of mentioned in the summary, we are the world leader in what we do, which is edge wound retaining rings and wave springs, which I'll show you a picture of in a second. The Greenhill family, which, as you mentioned in the beginning, has owned the company since 1963. And we've got about 300,000 square feet here in Lake Zurich. We manufacture all of our products right here that we sell all over the world. We have offices in China, in Sweden, and in France. Our employees, I think they'll be working on any average day for a shipment that they're making to, Czech Republic or, Africa, or pretty much every country around the world is getting something from us. So it's a pretty cool thing for our employees to see and for all of us. We do this through our owned entities that we have around the world, and also our distributor partners that we've worked with for many, many years. That's how we kind of, cover the globe pretty well. Next, just a quick example of our products. We sell standard products and special parts. Most of our parts are custom designed for our customers. That's why we need so many engineers at Smalley. Like, these guys are both engineers. Like, half the people, it seems like, at our company are engineers, because we work hand in hand with our customers to, develop their products. These are the industries, some major categories that we operate in. Pretty much anything that has a mechanical component is kind of a candidate to be, an industry that we're in. Automotive is one that's been very active for us recently. The last few years, with all the electric vehicle activity, we're kind of right in the middle of that, which is exciting. Our parts do very well at high RPMs, and so electric vehicle motors, run at very high RPMs. So that's been a really, strong growth area for us recently, and I know a lot of fun for our team members to, be working with all the manufacturers on, the latest developments. So that's been, again, an active area the last few years. Next, I'll talk about our growth a little bit. When the Greenhill family acquired the business, there was less than 10 people. It really was it was in downtown Chicago and just kind of one room, basically. When we moved here to Lake Zurich from Wheeling, we had 180 employees. And now, as you said on the front end, we're well over 500, 600-ish employees. Because this is our manufacturing and global headquarters, we've got our full executive leadership team here, all of our engineering team, like I mentioned, and then, our high quality skilled manufacturing jobs. We're really proud of that aspect of our business. All the employees work for us. We don't really use temps and things like that. So we want our employees to think of it as their career, which is what we've been able to do that. If you came to Smalley, you would find 10, 20, 30, 40-year employees, everywhere you look. As far as job growth, Kyle spoke of it a bit. We're looking for really to kind of continue on our same path that we've had over the years here, really strong and steady growth. So I think in the next, couple of years, we're looking at a, minimum plus 10%, and then just kind of continuing on from there on our pathway. So again, we grow when the economy grows, but we also grow on our own. Global expansion has been a big part of our success, and it makes up a big part of our business, our exports, including to China, for example. So I guess next I'll just talk for a minute about the site where we live and a lot of our days. So this is my Google Earth take on our property and the adjacent land that we own. So maybe two things probably stand out if you look at it. Certainly does to us. One is like triangles. As a manufacturer, triangles are not that good. Talking to our operations guys can speak to it better than me, but it's a bit challenging. A rectangle or square, works nicely. And the second thing that you might see are some, retention ponds on the just the undeveloped land there. So those are two areas that, have made the, kind of the next phase of growth for us, challenging. I know Kyle, over the years we've been, talking about this, he understands, and we've explained a lot some of the complexities. So, but we've been working on ways, to make it work, at our campus. I think it's obvious to say we're very happy here as a business. Our employees are very happy here, so trying to find a way to make it work. And I think, we've worked on, a plan for this campus that can do that. And, like Kyle explained, we have it broken up into 5 phases. I won't go through all the phases just to not take up all your time, but it involves manufacturing expansion, office expansion. And the first phase, like Kyle talked about, it's really kind of 3 pieces. First is a big piece is preparing the land for future development, since it needs a lot of fill and grading and just associated things like that. And getting it ready, we need to expand our parking to get ready for the growth, and also actually to address our needs right now as well, as far as we're kind of busting at the seams on parking. And lastly, we have some rehab of our existing facility that we're looking to do, together with that phase 1. So that's just kind of the first step that Kyle alluded to there. And I think that's one of the things that, again, that's been really stood out to us. I know all the time we've been here at Smalley is the support we've gotten from the village of Lake Zurich. It's really been something that, if you talk to people at our company, they can really feel that from the village and the community as well, that really always, supporting our business and growth. It's tough to be a manufacturer sometimes, very competitive. And so, when there's things like this that come up, with our site, for example, I think that the TIF is just another example of the village really, thinking far ahead and really kind of helping their businesses succeed. And so we really appreciate that support we've gotten, and as well as from the state, like Kyle mentioned. So, the kind of support that, we're offered really makes they can make the project economically viable for us. So, and again, overcome the challenges, including, the triangles that, I mentioned there. So, anyway, that's a quick summary of things for us, and we appreciate coming here to talk to you guys and you guys, all your support and consideration during this process, and for Smalley.
Thank you, guys.
So if you just hang there for a couple of minutes,
Sure.
See if the board has any questions for you. But, I want to thank you for considering us. I know that this has been a long process, and you were looking over the border and other places, and Triangle notwithstanding, it's good to have you in that industrial park too, so thanks for staying here. I'm gonna start down here at the end of the of the dais. Raj,
Yeah.
and we'll work our way down. Sure. Any comments?
No, not much to add. I appreciate you guys wanting to stay here. I think that obviously when we hear expansion and staying in Lake Zurich, music to our ears. So we appreciate you guys coming and talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just to chime in again, thanks for your interest in staying in Lake Zurich, and I appreciate your time tonight. No additional questions.
I just want to say thanks for the overview of the work you do and pictures of the springs and things like that, because I always wondered, what is it that they make over there? Just springs. What can you do with springs? So just seeing some of those visuals was really handy, and understanding the highly skilled workforce that you have in that facility, and understanding that part of it is really important for our community to know that these are places that we have in our community that they may not have an idea what it is. I've been on the board for 9 years now, and I remember when the rumors started to swirl that you guys were considering moving north of the border, and we had a lot of discussion around that at that time. So we're really happy that you're deciding to stay, and we've been able to make this work in a mutually beneficial arrangement for everybody. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yep, no, thanks for sharing. Thanks for staying in Lake Zurich and making it your home. We appreciate it. I enjoyed learning about your company a little bit, and hopefully some of the residents with young engineers coming out of college and stuff like that will look to you guys as a future employer maybe someday. But
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. I think as Dave can speak to, when you talk about springs, so me as a non-engineer, I've come to appreciate, what we do. The typical spring you see, is a round wire spring. That's pretty standard. It's in your pen. But what we do is a much more engineered product, and that's where a lot of the complexity comes in. Hence, we need so many engineers at our building. But flat wire spring is really the the distinction. So just for your information, it's very interesting stuff for sure. So.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I've toured your plant. You guys run a great place, and thanks for investing in Lake Zurich, and thank you for bringing more jobs here. That's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Echo the comments and the thanks that have been made thus far. Nothing additional to add.
Me too. The only thing I have is I would hope that the timetable you would be so successful that the timetable would be speeded up, and we don't have to wait till 40 years from now.
Yeah, we agree with that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good deal. Okay, nobody else has any comment? Kyle, anything more from you? No?
Nothing more.
Okay, Dan?
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to solicit a motion to approve the development agreement between the Village of Lake Zurich and Green Hill Company and the Smalley Steel Company.
Okay, you make the motion, and...
I'll make the motion.
Dan?
I will second it.
Mary Beth will second it, and Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Euchre?
Aye.
Trustee Riley?
Aye.
Trustee Spacone?
Aye.
Trustee Shagru?
Aye.
Trustee Wider?
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski?
Aye.
Okay, we're done. Thank you. Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
We have a TIF agreement.
Take care.
Thank you.
One of the things about our industrial park that a lot of people don't know is that we do have these specialized companies in our industrial park, medical facilities that are making all kinds of medical catheters and crazy medical stuff back there, and these guys with highly technical stuff. We have a lot of that stuff in our industrial park, so glad that we can keep them. Next item on the agenda, an ordinance determining to become a member of the Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency. Trustee Spacone.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So item 6B is an ordinance to determining to become a member of the Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency, approving the admissions agreement to the Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency, and authorizing all necessary acts, assigned ordinance number 2024-03-564. So this is a big one. So in summary, The decision to transition to Lake Michigan water has been analyzed and discussed in Lake Zurich since at least 2011, when the village was granted a conditional Lake Michigan water supply allocation from the state of Illinois. In May 2023, the village board adopted a resolution expressing the intent of Lake Zurich to work towards full membership into the Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency, CLC JAWA, to bring Lake Michigan water to Lake Zurich. The next step in the Lake Michigan Water Initiative is for the village to adopt the CLC JAWA admissions agreement, which will legally bind the village to the CLC JAWA amended agency agreement from 2013, its amended bylaws from 2020, and its water purchase and sale contract from 2013. Upon approval of the proposed ordinance and admissions agreement, the village becomes a full member of the CLC JAWA Board of Directors, with full voting rights into future CLC JAWA decisions. The agreement commits the village to paying 100% of CLC JAWA's costs of extending water infrastructure to bring Lake Michigan water to Lake Zurich. The agreement also establishes the capital contribution of $21,857,496 based on CLC JAWA's established formula and the 7,352 housing units currently on the village's water system. The agreement also specifies that CLC JAWA is offering the village a 30-year no-interest payment plan to fulfill the capital connection obligation. Now that's a deal. After lengthy, careful, and exhaustive consideration of the long-term potable water supply options available to the village, including the costs and complications of remaining reliant on the deep water aquifer, staff recommend approval of this agreement committing Lake Zurich to join CLC JAWA and to take the next steps toward bringing Lake Michigan water to the community.
Okay. You, Mike?
Yes. Excuse me.
Mike
Thank
Brown?
you. You know, tonight's about the journey. It's about this historical moment. We referenced talking about Lake Michigan water or in conversation since 2011, since we had the allocation, but really it goes back 40 years.
At least to 1981.
That's right, exactly right. You know, we've done our due diligence here. I think this partnership with this village board and village staff and CLC JAWA, we've done study after study after study, and with rightly so. You know, that's the difference that I can say that probably wasn't done to that fullest extent in the past, but it got us here today. So tonight is a staff recommendation to adopt and approve the ordinance determining that Lake Zurich shall join and become a member of CLC JAWA. What that does is that commits us to 100% of the obligation to the cost of the Lake Michigan Water Initiative project, as well as CLC's standards, policies, and bylaws. We have Executive Director Bill Susi here tonight and Chairman Martirano. If you have any further questions, we'd be happy to discuss.
Okay, I'm going to ask Bill to come to the podium in case anybody does have any questions at this point. We've had meeting after meeting, presentation after presentation. We've got the science down, we've got the money down, we've got the facility down, we've got everything that's done. It's all documented. We've had, I don't know how many meetings have we had? How many?
Several.
Many.
Several.
Many. We don't have a presentation tonight, I don't think, do we, from anybody?
We do not.
No, I don't think one is needed. We have presentations available on the website. So I'm going to just throw it, I'm going to start at this end now and start with William. And if anybody has any additional questions that maybe you could answer, or Mike, you could answer, or even Ray, or we have Mayor Martirano here, who is the chairman of the CLC JAWA, and if he wants to chime in, he can too. So, William?
Yeah. So I'll start off by saying thanks to Mike, Ray, the rest of the village staff. They've overly informed us on this topic, given us ample amount of opportunity to speak one-on-one with them, speak as groups, see Bill and his team tour the facility, understand the financial layouts. A continual piece that gets brought up, it seems, is like why we're here. like why the status quo needs to change. So Mike and or Ray, I know we've gone over this exhaustively, but if we could just give a brief summary one more time of why the status quo needs to change and why making a change in some direction is going to need to happen one way or the other.
Well, we've got a few points here. We've got environmental factors. We've got regulation that comes into play with the disposal of the radium. And then, of course, sustainability. All of those factors we took a look at and what that means for future generations. And that's primarily the reason why we're here today.
And looking at our options, as you recall from the various studies that we had conducted over the past several years, we did an exhaustive evaluation of the options of staying on the deepwater aquifer and what that would mean, remaining in the radium business, so to speak, and dealing with the regulatory compliance and the ever-changing environment and all that would entail, along with the costs, and then evaluating what it would take to transition to Lake Michigan water. We found that they were relatively scalable, that you're in the same ballpark of spending quite a bit of money in order to achieve the same quality in dealing with the environmental side of staying on the deepwater aquifer or transitioning to a much more reliable, sustainable source of water long-term for the village.
Thank you both. I appreciate it. I don't have anything additional to add.
So you're basically saying that we really have no option to stay where we are at this point, correct?
We do not.
Not that we can find.
Okay.
So, in other words, we don't have any viable options because of the environmental concerns, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and there's a deadline associated with that as well.
There is. The county has been patient. Have they put a drop-dead date? No. What they have asked us to do is continue to work towards progress.
We're also watching the rest of the northern Illinois environment in terms of Lake Michigan water allocations. A number of communities are queuing up, waiting for us to either follow through or follow through.
Right, and we're ahead of a lot of people in line because
Yes,
of the groundwork that you've done, so to speak.
Yes, we're at a use it or lose it situation with our allocation at this point.
Okay,
You know, another important piece I should have mentioned is by joining CLC Jawa, you have a membership. You have a voice at the table versus if you were to look at another agency. Just wanted to point that out as well.
right.
So it sounds like there's additional or unknown risk that we'd be taking on if we wanted to be further into the radium business, correct?
That is correct.
The one thing I can say is that having been on the tour twice, it's an amazingly well-maintained facility. I have a lot of confidence in CLC Jawa and in the way that you guys process the water treatment, and I think we're lucky to be in the position that we're in because I think a lot of villages are going to be regrettably without solutions or having to seek remediation.
Thank you. Yeah, the 13 communities that make up Central Lake County Water Agency are all very proud of the facility that they built or bought into like you're seeking to do.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Dan?
No, I could tell you when I joined the board 3 years ago, this was all of a sudden, it came to light. I know we've been working on it a long time, but realized it was a big decision. And it kind of, my personality is a little bit of skeptical, as you know, through my previous questions and analysis. But I just want residents to know that from my perspective, I've really fully vetted this situation from one, seeing if we really do need to move off the radium business, right? If there's other technologies that we can use to treat it and dispose of it, that would be effective. Concluded that there was not. And then we looked at a lot of different Jawas, water, providers, and brought really a skeptic view to that too, to see if there was better deals out there and stuff like that. Again, concluded that CLC Jawa is the best option for us. Your facility is fantastic. I've said it before, pay attention to water quality and stuff like that. The way you treat the water and keep it clean and not overdo chemicals that aren't needed and so forth is really appreciated by me. I think, one of the public speakers commented on the security of your facility, but you have a top-notch facility, and I just feel very confident and comfortable in this move that we're making to Lake Michigan water. So thanks for putting up with all my questions in the past, but you've done a good job, and I'm very comfortable with it.
Mark Spacone.
Yeah, so, and I just commented to Trustee Whiter to resonate or to fill in with what my fellow trustees, my colleagues have said. You know, you could eat off the floors in this facility. It is that spotless when you're in there. For the concern for the resident that is here this evening, I know you expressed you feel like our water is fine and it's great. And it is fine. It is safe. It's good. What we have is safe and good. Our issue is that 40 years ago, the can was kicked down the road to a much more expensive bill. And here we are with that expensive bill that we have to address because of the concerns that have been brought up over the last several years. And at some point, somebody has to make the hard decision to make that next step. And I believe that that's what we're doing here, is making that hard decision to say we're not going to kick it down for a future generation down the road. We're going to put it in place because it's the right thing to do at some point in time. And for this community and this village, I truly do believe that this is the right decision to make at this point in time. Unfortunately, it wasn't made in the past, and so we have this challenge before us that we absolutely have to face head on. And our staff has done an amazing job working with all of the agencies and all of the consultants and all of the work and the time. Mike, if you could quantify hours that you and your team have put into this, I'm sure it's into the tens of thousands over the years because of the issues that have come up over time.
We've lived this moment, you're probably right, tens of thousands of hours. I mean, just sitting with Bill and his group, the other Jawas, the other regulatory agencies, the county, I mean, everybody just trying to find a way to get us to this point.
Right. So for those reasons, that's why we're here, because there are future generations of Lake Zurich residents that are going to thank us for making this decision today, and all the work that we've put in, knowing that down the line, long after I'm gone, again, I view our work as, you know, in a lot of ways, we're planting seeds. We're planting a seed that we're never going to be able to be around to see the future development and growth, much like our tree commission and all the work that we put in there. We plant a seed today. We know that if we take care of it and we shepherd the resources and we're good stewards of the community's resources, that at some point down the line, a future generation is going to be able to enjoy the fruit and the benefit of all of that. A farmer doesn't plant a seed and then dig it up every day to see the progress and then replant it and then water it. They plant it, they water it, they provide the environment for which it can grow, and that's what we're doing here for our water system, for the community, for the future, because at some point down the line, we'll all hopefully still be alive to be able to enjoy it in a couple of years when this is all done. But then for future generations, the money portion of it will take care of itself, because at some point all of this will retire, and then residents down the line will be able to continue to enjoy, as Bill had told us, a virtually limitless supply of fresh water that is a limited capacity for people to be able to tap into, because around the Canadian borders and around the United States borders, there are limited access points to get this water, and people are trying and they're being told no in other states and in other places and provinces. So we have a very unique opportunity that we need to capture now. And with that, I'll shut up and stop talking. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you. Greg Wider?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say a quick thank you to Bill and CLC Jawa. You have been extremely informative, accommodating. I've had the opportunity to go on the tour a couple of times, and when we've had questions, you were there with answers, so I very much appreciate the work that you guys have put in. And I also just want to say real quickly a thank you to the staff. This has been a journey. It has been an enormous amount of work. And I think the staff has taken that responsibility seriously, and really has done an exceptional job of exploring our options and looking to the future. And we're lucky in the village of Lake Zurich to have the staff that we do. So I just want to say thank you to them for all the work. For those folks who may still have some questions, I actually got a water question at a St. Patrick's Day party this weekend. Just remind folks that a lot of this information is on the village website. So take a second. If you can't find what you're looking for, give the village staff a call. They'd be glad to help you with your question or help you find the information. Again, thanks to the village staff for all they've done to get us to this very important crossroads in our history. So thank you.
Yeah, and including all of the slides and all of the presentations that have been made over the last 3 or 4 years. They're all on our village website. So, and some of them are easy to read. I would say maybe you talk to Bill about the science stuff. That's a little bit funky. But
Well, we're not done yet. We still have plenty of presentations and slides to go in the future here. So we got a whole project to build if.
good news, Mike.
Yes, yeah, there you go. It's riveting, right?
Roger Shagru.
1981 is when this started and culminated, 42 years later. So echo everybody. I think obviously the biggest concern anybody hears is the cost that's getting pushed down. And I think we have the luxury of the half-cent tax, right, to defer some of that so it's not hitting us completely, but we've heard it. We have no other options, really viable options to go. So yes, I understand it's gonna hit people, but we have no other choice, right? And so I echo everybody, thank you for all the hard work you've done. I think you're probably one of the best, most well-equipped person I've ever seen on any topic I've ever covered of any business ever. So we appreciate you, Bill. I know it's a long journey with us, and it's just starting, it sounds like, from what Mike has. So thank you.
Okay. I have nothing else to say. I have pages of notes here that I was going to go through, but they pretty much covered them. We've asked all the questions. Is there anything, Bill or Dom, that we missed that maybe you see that we missed at this point?
I think just a couple of important things pop into mind is that when you're joining the agency, you're becoming a member. And unlike the other options you explored, those are contracts that expire. Membership is forever. It's forever. You become part of the agency and you're joining a team of 13 other communities. So we can all imagine that in the future there's going to be more regulations, tighter regulations. And rather than taking those on alone, you're going to take those on as part of the team, 1/14 of the team. So and when we talk about Lake Zurich, I want to tell you that for me, this is a deeply personal thing. Because I started in 1995, so the plant was just a few years old. And I know all the original people except for one, the person who the plant's named after, Paul M. Neal. Paul M. Neal was a mayor of Libertyville. He's the one that rallied all the communities in 1981. And one of the things that after he passed away before we started, so they actually carried him in a wheelchair in the plant before it was complete so he could see it. And one of the things after he passed away, his son said, is one of his greatest regrets was that he couldn't get Lake Zurich into the membership. This is in the newspaper. This is a quote that I shared with you.
Right.
So for me, it's kind of as the 4th executive director, he was the very first one. After he lost his election, he became the executive director. I feel personally like, to the spirit of Paul Neal, I'm completing the task that he set out to do. And I just think this is a really monumental occasion.
Yeah.
Depending how this vote goes.
Right. Either way, it's monumental.
Oh, that's true.
And let me add, it is monumental, it's historic. I was in your position several years ago. I was a trustee at the time, probably 2011, 2012, when we decided to go with CLC Jawa for Lake Michigan Water in the village of Lindenhurst. And I said to the board members at that time, I said, this is probably the most important thing we will ever do for our community. It's water, it's high quality, it's an infinite supply. Now, some scientists out there might say, well, no, at some point down the road, Lake Michigan will go dry, but it's not something that generations are going to have to worry about. It's that high quality. So what you're doing tonight, and although cost is always a factor, it will be the best decision you'll ever make for that community. Until science comes up with a way that humans are no longer reliant upon water, this is the best thing you'll ever do. And so, take a moment to think about what you're doing, not just for this current generation, but long after we're all gone, as some of you have said. your community will be well-positioned to support its community, all its residents, all its businesses, and continue to grow. So I commend you on the vote you're about to take, all the time you've spent, and as chair of the board, very interested in having you as partners. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Mike, anything more? No? Ray?
No.
Just the appreciation of the board and mayor and all of our partners, Bill, Mayor, Amaro Estasi and CDM Smith and all of the folks who have supported us through this process. That in taking this step, we're putting in place a resource that is probably the most fundamental and basic service that we provide, the most omnipresent. It's the one way that we touch everyone's life. You know, if someone might be having a bad day and might have to call 911 and interact with other departments, or they see street plows or so forth in other capacities, but water is the one thing that we're all always present and always available for our residents and our community and our businesses. So that's one of those things that we're putting in place now today with these recommendation and then all the subsequent steps to make sure that it's always going to be there and always soundly and safely delivered.
Okay. I think we're done. Mark?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add one more thing for residents out there that are wondering, are we the only ones going through this? I encourage you to Google Joliet and water supply coming from Lake Michigan and see what their total bill is. It's over $1 billion
It's up to $2 billion at the moment.
for their build out. So Lake Zurich is not the only community facing these challenges. There are other communities in the area that I believe come off of our same aquifer that we're using that are making these changes, but they're doing it at a much greater cost than what we're looking. We're looking at small percentages, pennies on the dollar, compared to what a lot of other communities are facing for this exact same challenge, with the exact same deep water aquifer that we're pulling from.
And if you don't think it's important, talk to the people in Hawthorne Woods.
Yeah.
If I could add just something else before we have a vote, because I know the next three are on this topic, and tell me I'm wrong, but the clarification here is we're not raising property taxes. This is coming directly from your water bill. There's transparency behind where this is coming from. So it's based upon water usage. We have ability to offset that by a home rule sales tax, which would essentially have a portion of this bill be paid for by non-residents of Lake Zurich. We've looked at all the cost opportunities to share with other municipalities and the likelihood or ability to even do that. And this is the cheapest option that we have, and honestly the only option based upon the water supply connections that exist. And in the end, we're looking at like, not can we remove radium, it's what do we do with the radium that's removed. So all of these things I think are continual things that get brought up. I just want to make sure that we point out some clarification notes before we kind of start voting on these next three items.
I just want to add that while I don't want to be in the radium removal or transport business, and that could result in a far costlier bill to our village, you know, so we have to think about that.
Okay. Mark?
All right. Thank you. So I'd like to make a motion. Let me make sure I'm reading the right one again. I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-03-564, determining to become a member of the Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency, approving the admissions agreement to the Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency, and authorizing all necessary acts.
And a second, please.
Second, Whiter.
And Aaron, please call the roll.
Trustee Euchre?
Aye.
Trustee Riley?
Aye.
Trustee Spacone?
Aye.
Trustee Chagru?
Aye.
Trustee Wider?
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski?
Aye.
And I don't get a vote, but my vote is an aye. Okay. Next item. Trustee Spacone again.
All right, item 6C, an agreement with CDM Smith for Lake Michigan water source route study in the amount not to exceed $300,000. So in summary, as the village continues its transition to Lake Michigan water, a detailed route study is necessary to provide project engineering and design details. A preferred route will be identified and up to 2 additional corridors for inclusion as potential routes. Alternatives will be developed to address known issues, provide an initial attempt at optimizing the route, and adjust the terminus point to Oakwood Park. The study will be funded through the village's Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund.
Mike?
Well, I'm happy the vote went the way it did in the previous agenda item. Otherwise, we'd probably be talking about this in a different manner. But this is the next step. This is hit the streets running and taking a look at the proposed routes, I say, versus route, and then finiting that route and looking at some efficiencies and how they may be gained as the project comes around. Mr. Amro Tassi is here from CDM Smith for questions, comments. Happy to take them.
Amro, would you step to the podium? This would have probably been pulled from the agenda had the vote been different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Let's start with Mark and go that way, and then we'll go Dan and go that way. Mark?
I have no questions or anything to add. We're on the process now. We're on the journey, so thank you.
Okay.
No questions.
No questions?
Ditto down the line. Dan?
Just, for audience, just give a little bit of explanation of where we're traveling to and from with this route, just to give some perspective.
Sure. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. Yeah, Bill and the chairman are hard to act to follow, but I'll do my best. So basically, we're starting at the Vernon Hills connection point, and then we're going to go through Route 83, North Diamond Road, then Indian Creek Road, followed by Midlothian. This is the route that we did the feasibility study for, but the purpose of the route study, which is mentioned in the admissions agreement, is to thoroughly look at this route, look at other routes, but also to outreach to all the stakeholders in terms of the municipalities that this route travels through, as well as the county, IDOT, the other utilities. We plan to meet with each one of them in person and discuss the challenges and any questions they may have. And as part of that, there may be additional routes that come through the process that are more efficient. We understand that cost is very important, and so as part of that process, if we can identify a more efficient route to reduce the length of the pipeline, we will certainly look at that. And then obviously we'll have a number of stakeholder meetings to bring all the stakeholders together to seek their input and make sure that we have consensus on the final route that will get the design and construction finalized for that route to get water to the village.
And then lastly, we don't anticipate at this point any hurdles that we can't overcome in getting from there to here, correct?
I don't believe so at this time, certainly from our experience with the North and the West group, and the mayor talked about getting water to Lindenhurst before. Permits and easements are typically the challenges on projects like this. And so we have to, and the best way to tackle that is to start early with the outreach to those agencies and to identify the easements that we need throughout this route. And then to get, to get their buy-in, and we've done some very creative things, and so the village has the advantage of all the lessons learned that we've gained through the North and the West group to get the easements and the permits as efficiently as we can, because as I've said almost a year ago, time is money, and so we want to get the route study going and get that input from the stakeholders as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Question would be, what's a rough estimate for, our citizens to understand how long such a study would take of route or routes?
So we've allocated 4 months, about 120 days, which I believe is in the admissions agreement. So we want to get get these meetings scheduled as quickly as possible, so we can that will be the biggest hurdle is just getting these meetings scheduled with all these agencies.
Thank you.
William?
Nothing additional, thank you.
I think we already have some sample routes on one of the presentations on the website.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought we did. Yeah. So if anybody wants to see what those actually look like, they're on the website. So, okay. Anything? You're looking at me funny. Okay. Go ahead.
All right, then I'd like to make a motion to approve an agreement with CDM Smith for Lake Michigan Water Source Route Study in the amount not to exceed $300,000.
And
I'll
a
second.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Thank you. Aaron, please call the roll again.
Trustee,
You're getting good at this.
excuse me. Trustee Riley,
Aye.
Trustee Euchre,
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski,
Aye.
Trustee Spacone,
Aye.
Trustee Wider,
Aye.
Trustee Chagru.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is mine. It's a resolution providing for the submission of the proposition at referendum of whether the Village of Lake Zurich shall increase its current local sales tax of 0.5% to a rate of 1%. And I'll read the summary. The proposed resolution formalizes the exact language to appear on the November 5th, 2024 general election ballot, asking Lake Zurich voters to increase the local non-home rule sales tax from 0.5% to 1%, with the increased revenue to be used to fund the cost of transitioning to Lake Michigan as the community's potable water supply. The village estimates that the transition to Lake Michigan water may cost up to $150 million, corresponding to a financing cost of approximately $7.4 million annually over 30 years. If voters decide to approve a referendum increasing the local non-home rule sales tax to 1%, the village would be substantially less reliant on increasing water usage rates for Lake Zurich households, as the annual sales tax revenue generated would cover $2.5 to $2.7 million each year of the annual financing costs. Approximately 40% of current sales taxes are generated by non-residents, contributing toward infrastructure investments that benefit the entire community. As previously recommended, the increase in sales taxes would allow the village to significantly reduce future water rates while still having adequate resources to complete and finance the Lake Michigan Water Project. Who gets this one?
Ray.
Ray. Now you can talk.
Thank you, Mayor. As you might recall from our discussions last fall and into December, staff had presented a number of options, and the board ultimately voted on and adopted a phased-in water rate schedule to be implemented over the next 5 years to demonstrate the village's commitment and ability to both CLC Jawa and to the IDNR and to IEPA, that the village would have the resources and wherewithal to follow through on the Lake Michigan Water Project. And we are looking at our evaluations as a non-home rule municipality. Our options to raise funds are very limited. And looking at water rates themselves are user-based, that is how our current water operations are funded. And putting those together and looking at the remaining half-cent capacity that we have under statute as a non-home rule municipality, we evaluated that approximately a third of the total financing costs could be funded if that rate increase were adopted by voters. As we had done the research, we had found that about 40% of our sales taxes are actually being contributed by non-residents. So as I think Trustee Riley had pointed out, or Trustee Chagru, I don't remember, I think you both pointed out in previous meetings, that about 17% then of the total costs of the project would be borne by non-residents for the benefit of the entire community, not just our residents consuming water, but all the other uses of our water system as well. So be happy at this point. Again, this is not a vote committing the village to raising that rate. This is completely going to be at the voters' discretion in November. As we had also strongly recommended that we would then, if this is adopted by residents or voters in November, we would then prepare an ordinance amendment in December, changing that phased-in rate structure to reflect the increased revenue coming from sales tax. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Okey doke. Questions? starting for Raj? No?
No, I think with 40% coming from people traveling to Lake Zurich, it sounds like a no-brainer to me. Thanks.
None? No question. Nope. Down the line?
No, I think we're benefited in Lake Zurich here to have such a great commercial retail corridor, right? Around 12 people come to our communities to shop all the time, so that if we can get them to pay for, some of our water expense going to Lake Michigan Water, I think it's a no-brainer, and it's a great idea. So.
Okay, and just as a reminder, Mike, the 0.5% sales tax that we already have goes to what?
Infrastructure.
And that's borne out by all of the road construction that we're doing now and all of the infrastructure you're doing on Main Street, and
It's a
all
combo.
those millions of dollars worth of projects are going right to that stuff.
That's correct. It's a combination of the enterprise fund with the non-home rule sales tax.
All needed stuff that has to be done that's not
That's right.
coming from property taxes.
That's right.
So, okay. William?
Oh, okay. No, I was just gonna mention again, this is giving our residents the power to make a decision on it, whether we want to raise the tax rate here and to offset the cost, leveraging, the resources that our village provides to non-residents. So again, this is giving our residents the ability to make that decision.
And that'll happen on the November 5th ballot later this year, right? Right. Okay, anybody else? No? Anybody else? No? Okay, then may I have a motion to approve resolution number 2024-03565, providing for the submission of the proposition at referendum of whether the Village of Lake Zurich shall increase its current local sales tax of 0.5% to a rate of 1%.
So moved, Whiter.
And a second, please.
Second, Riley?
And Aaron, one more roll call.
Trustee Euchre?
Aye.
Trustee Riley?
Aye.
Trustee Spacone?
Aye.
Trustee Chagru?
Aye.
Trustee Wider?
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That passes. We are done with new business. We move on to the president's report. I have none tonight. Are there any trustee reports? Nope. Any staff reports? Anybody? No? Nope. Okay, well, that concludes our business for tonight. May I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting and a second, please?
Also moved.
I'll second Spacone.
MB and Mark. And Aaron, your last roll call for the night.
Trustee Chagru?
Aye.
Trustee Wider?
Aye.
Trustee Spacone?
Aye.
Trustee Bobrowski?
Aye.
Trustee Euchre?
Aye.
Trustee Riley?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for watching. We're adjourned. Stay safe, stay healthy, and next meeting is April 1st. Thanks.